5 minutes, having introductions, getting sit again until you feel there's no camera. And we jump into the conversation. So I'd like to start with our guest, Mr. Demetris. Just tell us more about your story. Who you are, what do you do, the name, the title, behind the job. I would love to know who's Demetris.
So first of all, I would like to thank you for welcoming me here. I feel already at home, so thank you very much. I spent approximately 45 years of my life dedicated into really using technology to serve companies. And 2 years ago, I had an opportunity to move back to Cyprus to work for His Excellency President Nikos Christodoulidis to help Cyprus from a perspective called the chief scientist role. Now, before I go into the chief scientist role, let me say that as a young man growing up, I always had a passion for science, for technology, for history.
Yes.
And that led me, to pursue what we call software engineering, eventually, let's say, information technology and security, and eventually working for some of the biggest, I think, corporations in the world, Oracle, AWS, taking a wide array of assignments across the globe, at some point leading EMEA and Asia Pacific, advancing on one side the go-to-market strategy, meaning helping these companies and the partners commercialize, but on the other part, helping the solution teams, the ISVs, to build new solutions to serve markets. And when this opportunity arises to serve the nation, the first thing that came to my mind is that technology should serve first us, humans, citizens. And that was a very, I think, humbling moment for me, where I took that up. And as we speak right now, I support basically His Excellency, the Deputy Minister of Digital Policy, Research and Innovation, with regards to the digital transformation of the nation. I act as the chairman of the Research Innovation Foundation of Cyprus, and also of the Interministerial Committee of R&D, which allows me to basically work with the young generations, our scientists, our researchers who are very passionate about changing the world. At the same time, our technocrats, our policymakers. But what's very, very challenging is the opportunity to engage with, I think, world leaders, luminaries, I think nations like Saudi Arabia that are really embarking on a very ambitious transformational journey. I think your vision 2030 is inspiring. It's a beacon of light, or let's say a lighthouse for many. And having the opportunity to visit you here today and also meet some of the members around has been, I think, a sincere pleasure. And I'm happy to be here with you.
Amazing. So you've been used to the heat, right?
I've been used to the heat.
Can I understand more about the background? What made, just to understand the career, you started in science? What kind of science?
Well, I'm a computer scientist.
Okay.
I actually started by being an implementation consultant, writing software, eventually, helping companies build, I think, systems, and
Amazing.
eventually, working with government on systems. Then with the National Standards Organization, building things like ISO 27001, which is the Information Security Management Standard of a lawful interception. But I'm used to the heat mainly because I've spent, the most part of my life between Dubai, Arizona, and Cyprus. And these are three countries that give,
the hottest places
so today,
on earth.
Today I feel at home.
Good. Nice.
You graduate?
My first degree, yes.
Yellow Devils.
Dr. Abdulrahman, can you give us an intro about yourself and your story?
Okay. Abdulrahman Habib. I'm the director for the International Center for AI Research and Ethics. That's a Category 2 UNESCO center in Riyadh. My background, I did computer science, similar, in King Abdulaziz University. Worked in different positions in early e-government in early 2000. Then continued in US, again going to the heat. I stayed in Dallas for about 11 years. Studied my PhD, then worked as an assistant professor at University of North Texas. Then came to Sadaya. Worked in Sadaya in the National Center for AI, and proud that we managed and continue some of the work on the e-government I started more than 20 years ago, doing a lot of interesting projects in the center, which some of them now used across the kingdom, alhamdulillah, and now in the center for iCaire.
What does that do?
iCaire is a center that with UNESCO as a category 2. That means it's an independent center established in the kingdom, but UNESCO is overseeing the center, and it's on the board, and multiple countries are on that board. The center have 4 goals: support research and development, again globally. We're not talking in Saudi, but global. Awareness programs, capacity building, and policy recommendations.
Nice.
And we work with different countries. Alhamdulillah, we have multiple projects. The center is relatively young. A couple of years ago, and we just signed the agreement with UNESCO last year in 2024 in the Global AI Summit. Now we already, alhamdulillah, launched the International AI Olympiad with UNESCO and hosted it in Riyadh in 24. More than, I think, 20 countries are in that first Olympiad. The next Olympiad will be in Slovenia in 26, inshallah. We have an ambitious program called Women Elevate, where we, in the center overall, what we are doing is we see a lot of advancement in the kingdom and a lot of work. As you mentioned at the beginning, the stories are not told. So, for example, women in Saudi are not in many jobs, or that they're not working. However, organically, my team at Sadaya at that time, about half of the team, 48% of them are women. I'm talking about the engineers at the center.
Yeah.
In general, in Saudi, women in tech is more than 35%. When I was in the US, in different organizations, if we hit 22 or 21, we will be celebrating the rooftop happy that we have. And by the way, there we have laws and regulation to support increasing women in tech. Even in the school, I used to go with UNT to high schools and different places just to promote engineering
Women in
school
STEM,
or STEM for the students, specifically women. In Saudi, it's the opposite, and that's a story that's not told. It's the opposite. Organically, that number was in my team. I did not look it up. I'm not trying to add more women in the team versus men. That's not the case. Women actually in universities with great numbers, specifically in IT.
In tech,
In tech. Yeah. And it's been there since the beginning. It's not something that we're just starting.
Nice.
So that story is not told. Anyhow, we took that story and we announced an initiative at UNESCO with the center to train 25,000 ladies internationally. The program is called Women Elevate. And we are proud that we already trained more than 1,000. We have about 4,000 in the pipeline now studying right now. And we have more than 26,000 registered in the program.
MashaAllah.
So alhamdulillah, those are some of the things that the center have done. We do, of course, workshops for thought leaders in different countries. So we have a series about the readiness assessment methodology. I shared with you the booklet for the Saudi report. And we are supporting many of the UNESCO guidelines and policies in AI in the region.
Amazing. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Tabarak. And when we say training and capacity building, is there any specific topics?
AI.
AI.
Always AI.
And this is a big word, I think, and this is what we're trying to break. Everyone is saying AI. We need to tell the youth and the entrepreneurs, inshallah, everyone, what does that mean in our conversation. So we'll jump to Dr. Faris to tell us his story.
It's good to be back, first of all. Thank you for
Welcome
having
back.
me again. Faris Aboud. I grew up in Jeddah, my hometown, before continuing my studies in the UK, in London. I did my bachelor's degree also in computer science, and then continued to do a PhD specifically in AI planning, which is a subdomain of AI that has to do with decision making. I completed my doctorate there, and this was back in 2017, 2018.
Don't tell.
Came back to.
Don't tell the year, yes.
Oh, okay. I'll
just
try
tell-
not to. next time. No. The reason why it's relevant, the year is relevant, is because I came back to Saudi to look for a job,
Nice.
and I didn't find any.
Mhm.
So it was a big struggle for me to find something that was very relevant to the work that I was doing. Software engineering jobs were going to foreign nationals because they were cheaper, right? And obviously they were a lot more experienced. And there were no AI jobs at the time. There was nothing to do with AI. So I continued living in the UK for another 5 years, started a few companies there, one of which was acquired, ended up working for the parent company, taught as an assistant lecturer at King's as well, and then came back to work for government in an AI product capacity, where that's actually where we first met. We had a project with the National Center for AI, and obviously, what a culture shock that was, right? Coming back after 9 years studying abroad and living abroad, only to see that what I saw in 2018 was nowhere near the same country that I saw in 2020, right, or 2021. So came back and ended up working for a few startups as well. My background is computer science, but my career is in product management. So worked for a few really awesome startups and unicorns like Gatherin. Ended up working for a few innovation firms very similar to Sigma, like the Space and Beyond most recently. Ended up having an amazing time supporting a lot of government initiatives across Sadaya, where we met again, and also across the Saudi Industrial Development Fund. We built their innovation lab at Beyond. We had the pleasure of working with the Ministry of Tourism to support nationalization for tourism jobs. And here I am.
Amazing stories. So I feel really humble. I mean, having, mashallah, all three of you. Maybe the one thing I share is that I'm also a computer engineer, but a recovered engineer. Okay. So I shifted completely from being an IT and a computer scientist to advocating for innovation and design. I'm a father of four. Layan, Umar, Dana, and Yusuf. And the main reason why I do what I do is to create more innovators and to design a better reality for them, inshallah. And I really believe Saudi, as you mentioned, is in the center of what's going on. So all of what we mentioned is not recorded, so we're gonna start all over. So the key thing is, I think what's the buzzword today is AI.
Yes.
The last thing I knew about AI was fuzzy logic control when I was in college. I have no idea what is that
Which is
anymore.
an interesting subject at that time.
Exactly, it was at the time, so it was robotics and so on. But I think it went way beyond that. Saudi has been working a lot into the sovereignty of AI to become an infrastructure, investing in chips, in manufacturing, launching Humane, Sadaya. We just launched the new Humane Chat and Humane Create. So all of this is happening while the challenge is 75% of Saudi are under the age of 30. We want 4% of our national GDP to come from the creative economies. So how can we bridge a gap between policymakers, investors, entrepreneurs, and trying to think about the opportunities for the next generation? So I'd love to start with you, Dr. Demetris. What's going on? What's beyond the buzz?
First of all, let me just say that I think you touched the point before saying that, you started as an engineer, now you're a recovered engineer. I think the most important thing that we're seeing today is that when you look at the number of people that are coming in to start, let's say, and build a career in artificial intelligence, they're no longer just computer scientists.
Yes.
They're no longer just electrical engineers. They're no longer, I would say, specific programmers or system engineers. The umbrella of artificial intelligence encapsulates so many different other areas and pillars, be it, for example, data science or people really being able to really create new types of solutions, that this is attracting, right? People from all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of, let's say, expertise, and it is really helping them build on. Now, I would say, I would go to I think, first of all, start by saying something that most people don't really use before we go up to the policy level, is when people start looking at what do I need to actually be successful with AI? The first thing that you need to understand, and my advice always when talking to people, is that it's not just a black box or a product. You open it, you switch it on, and it works, right? And this is why we see that most of the companies or most of the projects that are really embracing the technology are not getting the expected outcome, mainly because they don't understand that, you need the data, which I think is a foundation. We've had a fantastic discussion earlier on today. You need the people on top, that is a completely different discipline, the data scientists to be able to really prepare that. Then you need the engineers that are going to work on use cases, right, and the models, and then you need that area. But then you really need a few other things besides all of this. And you need what I would call the innovation ecosystem. And you need these ecosystems to bring in, those different types of professions and elements and people, right, that are really going to be able to start creating the value. Unlike many other technologies, artificial intelligence is a very disruptive technology. And it's a technology that has the potential to not just disrupt a product or a solution, it can also disrupt very easily a business model. So when I'm talking about these innovation ecosystems, I'm really talking about, what does AI mean for, I think, the industry of creativity, or for lawyers, or for accountants, or for health, right? I mean, tell a doctor now, or, a few years ago, that you would be having a machine to do diagnostics, or to be able to, predict a personalized treatment plan. You would never get them to embrace it.
That's true.
Tell them today, right, that AI is going to be fundamentally in their actual medical course across the world, right? That changes. So going back, to leaving the buzz and going back to, the area of the policy making responsibility, us policymakers across the world have, I think, a responsibility to listen, look, analyze, but then go back and really bring these policies out, or let's say, write the policies that when actually put into effect will support the evolution of our systems. I mean, the government engines, the departments, the machines, for all of them to be able to really create additional value. So when people ask me and they say to me, how do you envision AI adding value to a citizen? Where it's all about creating a personalized citizen journey, right? Imagine opening up your passport, right, or your super app, and basically the super app is telling you, this visa is actually, expiring in 2 days, and you're on a trip 2 days in a row. All you have to do is just click here and get it renewed, right? So these type of technologies, if they are immersed and designed in a way that they are embraced within the policies, the boundaries, and I think the guardrails that we require, will enable us to give those citizens, right, I think, a better citizen experience. On the other side, I think, not to go too far away, but I would say that when we look at government or when we look at companies, right, everybody says, well, it's a technology that is going to take away, my job in the future. What I keep on telling them is that it's a tool that if you use it correctly within a guardrail system that basically helps, a company really not go out of a business model, that will enable us to really contain, right, the extreme amount of pressure, data, unknown that we have to work. And I was saying earlier on that since 2004 to today, the amount of data that has been generated is more than 18,000 times. Yet we go to the office, the day still has 24 hours, last time I checked, right? We still have 7 days a week, so we cannot cope with all of that. So what I say to people is, when used correctly, these technologies, if we actually create what we refer to as human-centered or human-augmented systems and solutions, we will be able to really bring in that additional help we need for us to make our life easier. So in a result, work balance. So at that level, at the policymaker level that I have in Cyprus, it's to advise, it's to work with the government to make sure that we harness this technology in a way that it creates value for a citizen, for government, for companies. That's it.
So I like this notion because rarely I hear people speaking about, which is AI, like any other technology, is a tool
Yes.
to bring prosperity, to improve citizen experiences, to improve productivity, and hopefully make us thrive more as human being. So we'd love to hear more from the other perspective, what's happening here. So this is from, I would say, the big picture. Can I understand more about the Saudi context? You mentioned a lot of initiatives. I know there is the Samaya or Samai initiative to bring 1 million literacy, I would say, or educated Saudi in AI. Why this is happening? Why it's so important for us?
Very good point. First, I'm not representing the authority here today.
No. We're
But
just,
I will talk about many
Yes,
of the programs
exactly.
in the kingdom, especially that we are an iCaire international organization looking at the kingdom as one of the beneficiaries of the center
Yes.
and broadcasting some of the advancement that happens in all the countries within our group. Saudi put a big influence, or let's say, put a big emphasis, into building an AI, data and AI infrastructure.
Yes.
I'll tell a personal story. When I was in the state teaching in the school, I had my first PhD student who graduated, and he's a Saudi guy. He just returned back. And at that time, I used to bring speakers to classes.
Yeah.
And in 2020, or 2019, sorry, we didn't have that many authorities looking, I'm talking globally, authorities that specialized in AI.
Yeah.
But then Saudi and Emirates started their AI authorities. And of course, I wanted to bring them to class to talk about why a country would make an organization dedicated to this technology, while nobody else is doing that at that time. Even till 2023, many countries didn't have that dedicated personnel in the government that's specialized or looking at AI disruption, let's say,
Yeah.
or even a strategy. But mashallah, the kingdom already had a full swing authority. It's not even a small authority. We're talking a huge authority that's looking data and AI, introduces a lot of programs and consolidating a lot of work in there. Not to dive into so many details that Sadaya have done, but I think if you look at international indices where the kingdom were in 2021, let's say, because even indices in that area are recent indices. And where are they today? In the top 15. That's a huge leap for the kingdom. Not only that, I'll go back to sovereignty, which is your initial question. We looked at not how to use technology, but also how to build it from scratch to be sovereign as well and to be localized as a technology in the kingdom. So when I joined the National Center for AI, that was the whole mandate, and that's within Sadaya. In looking into building these products and showing the use cases that we have in our strategy and we want to build in the kingdom. And it wasn't a small take. I'll give you just one small example. In the school, I used to teach in machine learning the classical example for neural networks, which started with DeepMind at that time in India, where they went there and did diabetic retinopathy screening. Very simple. They look at your eyes with the same machine that usually read the vitals for your eyes and take the image, and building an application that will predict if that patient have a diabetes in their retina or not, which is diabetes. The importance of that disease in India at that time, it's prevalent, it's there. Usually it has a medicine, it's 4-level. If you catch it at the early stage, the medicine will solve that problem. But if you came late, till today, we don't have a solution. And what happened with DeepMind, they went in India, go around rural areas and villages, and start screening people who did not go to the hospital yet, and they don't know if they have this disease. And if you have diabetic, this is an important
Diagnostic,
yes.
predictive.
But you don't go because you don't say maybe your eyes is not as good, but you say that it's aging. Or so many other reasons. Maybe you're far away from cities and from hospitals, you don't go there. So what DeepMind did, they put this program, just a classical example, and that was the story that we teach in the class, and even the technology that we taught in that class. I returned back to Saudi, and we actually built our own products called iCaire.
I9.
iCaire in my team,
Nice.
okay? And iCaire today is a national program in at least 6 hospitals. And thousands of people who've been through this program, many of them, in most of the cases, didn't came to the hospital for that specific reason.
But the tool helped.
But the tool, the
Yeah.
prediction tool, as Demetris mentioned, it's a decision support system. It's supporting
Yes.
the healthcare providers, not only the doctor. The healthcare provider to understand there was an issue, and maybe take it to a further investigation with the doctor.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Now, Saudi have mastered and built all this. And by the way, just to give the magnitude is only handful, maybe one hand, not two hand, handful of countries have implemented such things on a national level. Yes, we are sometimes we don't see our achievement, but we are in the center. We look at it from a global perspective,
Yeah.
and you can see only a handful of countries managed to take this AI. We used to teach it in 2018. That model is not new, but to take that advancement and put it in place, then build it and localize it, then make it a product
Yeah.
on a national level. And by the way, it's not iCaire, only iCaire. We encourage also entrepreneurs. And there are companies, local companies, also are working in the same area on diabetic retinopathy.
Amazing.
And this whole ecosystem now flourishing because the kingdom put that emphasis in building an organization like Sadaya, for example, and working in all areas. Now, I talked about innovation, but they also work on regulation, and they also work on operation and building many systems to support this shift and move to the kingdom, to the digital or the new economy, especially with AI.
And building on what I think Dr. Abdulrahman has just said, besides this infrastructure, I think that as Saudi Arabia has been pioneering in building the infrastructure ground up, imagine that you have a technology, this technology called AI is multidisciplinary. You suddenly bring the different disciplines together and you create something that can accelerate and impact citizens. Imagine that this technology right now, a solution from a product, it started as a technology, as a POC, it became a product, now it's a product platform. It can really affect longevity of human life. Then you translate it and you say the same technology has the power of democratizing, right? Information, insight, analytics, healthcare. And it really, and this is why I referred to before saying that it really has opened a door for us.
Yes.
Where we really need to look at, the innovation ecosystems and probably really even reflect back as to rewriting how they're working, because it's moving so fast that, as you said, Doctor.
The team is very interdisciplinary.
Yes.
So this team started with an engineer, but also doctors as well, and many
They work
with
together.
the client,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah, of course.
All those projects and all the projects that you will work on with AI. AI is a tool.
Yes.
It's one tool within your toolbox.
And this is why I think co-designing, co-creation, and bringing the ecosystem together. So, and one of the things we try to do is bringing government policy making, investment, academia, R&D, and entrepreneurs to the same table. Again, trying to use that kind of infrastructure or policies to build something. And maybe this is where I would like to jump to Dr. Faris, just to bring the perspective. You said you've been always in product and building new products and startups as well. What do you see? So if the policymakers have paved the way, if the government built the infrastructure, what can we build on top of this? Especially that we're saying, again, AI is a tool. Anyone from any background should be equipped with it. So any industry or any kid in the future should be supercharged by AI.
So-
What are the opportunities there? What are the, I'm not going to call it the application layer, but where is the real life scenarios like iCaire or from the private sector perspective?
So two points to make here. First of all, I had the pleasure of overseeing one of the training programs that Sadaya Academy ran, where they trained around 1,600 or 1,800 people on machine learning and AI. And it's very interesting when you look at the backgrounds of people who are applying to these programs. They're not AI, right? So the backgrounds are usually quite various. We've had dentists, we've had literally psychologists, artists and creatives, you name it, who have decided to jump in. And this is exactly going back to what the chief was talking about how AI is multidisciplinary. It's not designed to only support people with a tech background or to support people who understand AI and tech. That's number one. And these training programs are designed to give people the foundational knowledge needed to be able to leverage the expertise that they already have,
Exactly.
right? And apply AI use cases to it. And what I've personally seen, this is a very modest opinion, the best ideas usually come from people who are not in tech,
Exactly.
right? Because again, no offense.
Not because of that, but
No offense taken.
from a design point of view, they come from the problem. They come from the
Exactly,
market. They
right?
come
So-
from the actual-
so-
He's happy now.
yes,
Of course, the retired engineer. So,
Recovered, I believe.
no, recovered. Sorry, recovered
It's a
engineer.
more agile way, right?
So we as tech people, we learn to do, we learn to implement, right? So when we hear these amazing ideas, this is where the combination of the thinker and the doer end up making something amazing. The second thing is people tend to always limit themselves to targeting very specific markets, very small areas, when in reality, a problem that we face here can easily be solved in other places. And I say this because I'm a partner in an AI and data firm called Datalogics. I had the pleasure of actually flying out to Cyprus early in the summer, I think it was May. And I actually had the honor, this is where I met the chief, of speaking after him about Saudi's AI strategy and what that looks like and what we have learned over the years. And one of the things I learned very quickly is that Cyprus is a very easy market to apply a lot of the use cases that currently exist in Saudi. And that it's actually a very ripe market as well. So there are places that are very close to us that are easily accessible. I mean, there are direct flights multiple times a week to Larnaca.
they have the beach, they have the sea.
Oh man,
the
don't
food.
even get me started. I had the best seafood of my life with this man. So we. Trust me, this I swear he will not. يعني إحنا بنقول بالعربي ما يقصر. He will not. What's the word for it? He will take good care of you. He's taking very good care of me, and it was a fantastic time that we spent. But it's always good to see what opportunities exist in the region and not just locally. Yes. And it's important to remember. I hear this a lot. It is becoming a very diluted market because there are so many different government initiatives that are being run to support these entrepreneurial ideas. You've got the Garage, you've got Munsha'at, you've got NDDP, which is running MVP Lab. Right. You've got MISC running multiple programs like Launchpad. Yeah. And all of these ideas that are coming out are starting to clash with each other, but they all work, and and the pie is big enough for everyone. So I think there's a lot of room and opportunity for those collaborations to happen. Not just locally, but even across the pond. And it's going to be super exciting, I think, over the next few years. I can only imagine that relations with Cyprus are going to improve. And there has to be, I actually spoke to the gentleman behind Doers company, and they're looking at doing something in the region as well. I think they're doing something in the UAE, and Saudi is next. So the Doers are doing they always run conferences and expose, and they try to bring the brightest minds around tech and AI to talk. And they're now doing something in the UAE. I know that as a result of that, there's going to be a lot of amazing cross collaboration on AI products and AI tools and AI ideas between the UAE and Cyprus. The same thing has to happen here.
If you allow me, I think also one of the interesting things that's happening in Saudi is the government investment in talent development.
Yes.
100%.
We're talking about only, I'm talking about only AI, data and AI. We're exceeding more than 1.5 million people being trained in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
This is huge to so many countries globally.
This is literacy. I mean, building the basics, and again, with the different backgrounds and different.
When we did at iCaire, we supported doing the International Olympiad, and to bring the kingdom also to the International Olympiad, we started with Saraya, the local national Olympiad. Usually, Olympiads are for highly skilled students,
Intelligent students.
very specific group, very small group that applies to Olympiad in physics and in math. What the kingdom did, or Sadaya at that time, they made this more inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we are in certain indices or programs. Saudi is number 2 globally after China in the interest of public in applying AI.
Oh.
So if you go
have
around,
that eagerness, you have
yeah,
that
this
willingness.
eagerness to use AI in every area is also echoed within the government and within the government support. So when Sadaya started Tariq al-Azka is the National Olympiad. Tariq al-Azka was the program to support students to apply to the Olympiad. We had more than 600,000 students. Then we have 10,000 students, or about 10,000 students, who came to a stadium.
Yes.
We have an event in a stadium showing what AI is doing even in football, in science, in healthcare, and so many other areas. This is a movement. This is not just a training program. The training program is an embedded part.
Yeah.
But it is a movement that brings all students to know AI is there, they can use it, they use it here, they use it in football, they use it in science, they use it in healthcare.
Yeah.
And that movement, at the end, the competition is the same competition. Then we only have a few number of students. Those students will continue on the program. But the movement that you created in nationally within schools from, I will say, elementary onward, but mainly mid and high school, that was an amazing program. This is the emphasis, and Sadaya is just one example.
Yes.
This is the emphasis that the kingdom is putting on talent development.
Exactly.
And that's why you see those programs, when other programs come in and entrepreneurial programs are there from other organizations, they're finding the right environment.
Mm-hmm.
Because these training programs is coming semi, for example, with a goal of 1 million Saudi and so many other programs, all contributing to inspire the community or the nation to actually learn about this topic and apply it within their life.
And it's game changing. So I think I'll build on an example here. So when you actually develop talent and you prepare the talent pool, you create influence amongst the younger generations, and then they think differently. So a few months ago, I was asked to walk into a school and talk about AI, and I noticed that there was a young kid, 15, 16 years old, who was working on a 3D design, so with a 3D printer. So I also, when I asked him a few questions, I noticed that I said, "Are you really working on technology?" He said, "Yeah, I'm trying to learn AI." I said to him, "Would you like to do a project together?" He said, "Yes." So what we did is we rescheduled the visit. We talked with their teacher, and 6 weeks later, they had created a version of Einstein, 3D printed, right? Connected to the Raspberry Pis in the right behind, right? And you could actually walk and you could ask Einstein a question. And then, right, that went as a demo into the school, and then it started saying, who would you like to talk to? Maybe it's Leonardo da Vinci, maybe it's a history teacher. And then, children and students at the school, they start thinking of new areas where they can apply the technology. And that sparks people, with that area. So I would echo here that this project that has, developed and develops, the capacity, the people who know how to use the technology, be it, at a scientific level on data science, or, maybe how to harness, create pools of people and I think resources that are future-proofing a nation, right? So you need the infrastructure, then you need the talent that is going to be able to redesign the new. And then you need what we are trying to do together, right?
Yeah.
To build the bridges across the continent. Because if you have the great solutions and the great products and the great engineers and the talent, you eventually would like to benefit from that and really explore.
Yeah.
And that is where, a nation like Cyprus also can add some value to here in really being part of that bridge and the gateway.
And this is exactly, I think, where the narrative has changed in Saudi. So the message today is we can actually reach about 4.9 billion people from the heart of Saudi. All of the investments, all of the efforts has been happening. And also the message is anyone who wants to contribute and bring their knowledge, bring their startups, bring their ideas. Where do you see this kind of interaction, having this bridge of talent, ideas between Saudi and Cyprus? What could be that exchange?
Thank you very much. That is, I think, a very, very interesting question. And I think exploring this, we have two fundamental things to understand. One of them is there is the access to people that could be consumers of the technology.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is the access of markets. And markets sometimes are, regulated by, let's say, specific policies and guidelines. When somebody or when a nation creates those enabling conditions and cooperations, or let's say strategic partnerships, that the company that produces a solution here can also test it in another market called Europe, right? Which is which is a market of 19 trillion euros. It's the second biggest market in the world.
Yep.
This creates an opportunity for a company to be able to scale faster, right? In creating value, because it's one thing for us to be able to access the amount of people.
Yeah.
It's another thing to be able to create value for our customers, for our businesses, for our government, for our citizens, that enables them to use this technology in that area. And I'll give you just one example. I just arrived from Melbourne, and in Melbourne, I was talking about a Cypriot-based startup that does neuromodulation. And in the room, there was a Sydney-based doctor who is actually using that technology. I was surprised. Imagine that you find a technology coming out from a country that is small in another country called
You find the
Australia.
user or
Where is there?
yeah.
So, but what is important is that this company did the necessary, let's say, work validating, the FDA approvals and the approvals for having a mission. Now, this cooperation that we are trying to build between Saudi and Cyprus will create a foundation where Saudi-based technology that wants to travel into Europe could use Cyprus and use Cyprus as a test bed where, these minimal viable products or solutions, etc., are tested right and validated against the EU requirements, and vice versa for us Europeans who want to come here to be able to do that through a country called Cyprus and create that springboard.
Nice.
And essentially what this does is it creates, I would say, a partnership where you join at the edge the Saudi ecosystem, which is one of the most fastly moving AI innovation ecosystems right now in the world, right, with the sovereign technology and approach, with Europe, which is investing heavily into AI, but at the same time is one of the most advanced research ecosystems in the world in the technology. And through this, you create an area where you have complementary value, right? You don't have competing value, you have complementary value. And when you have complementary value, when you have great access to resources that are developing programs, have the infrastructure, are developing the pipeline of the people, right? And these skills can be used in other countries, etc. And then you have, I think, there's partnership.
Yes.
You create an all-inclusive value proposition for success.
I like this because I think we should also avoid some of the previous mistakes when the internet startups and came, where Arabic market, where we have 250 million Arabic speakers, were not part of the I would say the conversation. But having the test bed, I would say analogy here is that anyone from both I would say cultural backgrounds can actually design AI models that really fits by having that place to test and fit. And this is a debate actually where is the AI models, LLMs or apps today really speaks to the market here, to the GCC market or the MENA market? Is it by design tailored for us? Can we really use it?
We had a very good conversation about this in Cyprus at Tech Island, where we talked about how a lot of the technology that's built is neither built for Cyprus nor for Saudi. It's built for Silicon Valley, really, where the data is being collected, right? And I gave a very good example of an AI model I saw in production where a supermarket here in Saudi was using a model that supported with insights and analytics and forecasting for products. And then when Ramadan came around and all of the Saudis were buying dates, the tool basically said that there was an issue and started forecasting wrong numbers in sales, and it started predicting that dates would be sold that much every month. But it's because these models don't take into account.
It's Ramadan.
Exactly.
Yes.
It doesn't take into account our habits as a people, right? So that was the challenge. It really is a funny problem, but that's the reality. These models are not built for us, and as a result, a lot of the products and tools that exist are not localized to us, and that's where we come in. This is where local talent, whether you're in Cyprus, you're in Saudi, or anywhere else in the world, there needs to be, and this is why Saudi is investing so heavily in localizing its talent, because you want these products to be built by the locals, for the locals, to support us in fixing problems and in helping us enhance the lifestyles and the experience of local Saudis, right?
So,
And building on this, I would say, just I'm sorry for interrupting you, I would say that the ability to actually understand that this technology will be changing faster than anything we have seen before.
Yes.
In fact, if you look at McKinsey, PwC, all of these reports, they are predicting that in the near future, we are going to be having to reskill and upskill people every 18 months. Now, what this means is that if you just rely on technology that is brought in and you don't have that ability to train it, to
build it,
adjust it where required, you will end up having a car that is not designed for you. So remember, this is why we're also advocating, and I was very happy to see earlier on today in the previous meetings that the perspective of Saudi Arabian government and also from us are very aligned. Human-centered AI. You start by the human and you go backwards, right? And this is why we need to understand that it doesn't mean that one LLM is the answer to the world. It might be an LLM, it might be a small language learning model. But what we need to do is we need to learn how to actually, I think, be able to manage and cope with this technological change. And I will just end up what I'm trying to say with a very, very interesting writer, Pascal Bornet, who titled it saying AI obesity, meaning if you rely on AI models that are basically trained with any type of data that is in there, then AI will be basically better than the average human out there. We don't want that. And this is why and I think what I see here is this intention in the sovereign AI approach is really building and future-proofing Saudi for the future.
I like this point because I've been advocating all of my career around human-centered design. And having the citizen, having the customer in the middle of the conversation. You mentioned just a new term to me, which is human-centered AI. Is it really a thing, or it's just a buzzword? Where is the ethics?
It's the same term. It's the same term. It's a human-centered design, but we are designing AI, so human-centered AI.
How can we have the people in the center of this? How can we build the ethics and ensure that it is really captures the essence, the cultures and so on?
Good point. Let me take it into two parts.
Okay.
First, designing now or localizing the technology, which we started with, with the example of INI or breast cancer screening, or even LLMs, Alam with the human now. If you build this, or if you take it as a technology from outside and you try it, it will fail. Fail, I mean, it will fail. You will think it's not smart.
It won't click. It won't.
The whole idea of AI is that AI is a software or an application that is easy to deal with, and you will not feel it because you think it's smart enough. Artificial smartness is smart enough to understand, so you don't need to deal with it like the previous computer programs that you used to deal with.
Yes.
Now, if you bring an AI model, even if it's based somewhere and it's not localized, and ask it for a very local question. Take an LLM, for example, and ask it something about the history of your country, especially if the country is small and not that many data have been fed into that model about that country. Then the answer will be something, and I have tried it with, so at iCaire we worked with ISISCO, the Islamic World Organization, and I asked the same question in one of our meetings where we are doing the AI ethics for Islamic world. And they said, oh, it will answer. I said, okay, we'll open it now. Let's ask it a couple of questions. One of the advisors at that time, I think from one of African countries, asked it for a very specific, I think, independent story from his country.
Okay.
Guess what? The model gave him Alice in Wonderland type of answer.
Yes.
A whole answer that fit Alice in Wonderland example and Robin Hood, but has nothing to do
with his culture.
With that culture or that question. Now, it's not a problem for you and me because, I know the story, so I know this is wrong. Where is the problem? For the young generation who will deal or talk with this machine.
And will think that.
And they will think that this is the right answer because that's the artificial obesity or the artificial intelligence that we rely or over-rely on. Then that's a big problem for that narrative.
Yes.
You will not accept it, and then you will have a problem, or you don't know about it, and your kid is raised with that wrong story or wrong notation about that story. This is not an easy issue. Therefore, in that context, we did the Riyadh Charter for AI Islamic countries. What we are trying to give is not only sovereignty. So sovereignty is an important
aspect,
but also cultural aspect. So you should evaluate and look into these products, and especially AI products today in the market. Contrary to other products, they are shipped very fast. Before the normal product design and management for the products, so they're actually half-cooked products. That's what they are. And then once the user takes them,
adapted,
then we learn what to fix. Just a week ago, we had the incident with the German guy who Latif killed his mom because of the conversation he's having with the model.
Yes.
Okay.
So he's talking to the model, Latif. He's talking to the model, and the model started. So the model is trained to do some sympathy with the user.
Yes.
يعطيك جوك.
Exactly.
But it's also always validates the user's thoughts.
Yes. So it is validating your thought in order just to give you more engagement. What happened, Doctor? This guy is starting to have a bad conversation, and the model did not catch that this is an issue or going to an extreme example, and suggested with him that he will get rid of his mom.
Wow.
This is, of course, I'm sure not the company wants, but the parent doesn't know. Your kid or your son is sitting on the computer. You think he's doing right. Previously, you would think this is something that another organization is a type, but now it's even further. Now a model is talking to him and advising the wrong advice. So it's not only sovereign, it's not only culture. There are so many multifaceted things that we need to think about
social
and make sure that we solve these challenges as we go. It's okay. We're
gonna make mistakes,
championing using this technology for the good, but we also need to work in parallel in understanding and supporting the capacity of people to know what to use and when to use it and how to use it. Then also to know what to fix and how to fix it and what the context that we did. And that goes back to the sovereignty, because if you started to build your own and to understand and collect the data, when I sit with some other countries, this data collection that happens, for example, Alam,
Yeah.
is second to none. They could not even imagine having a national work or a national champion to bring
To
all
bring
these
an
data
Arabic
sets
element.
and annotate it and do it together. It's not easy.
I like this because it's not about just being in silos, right? It's about
Nobody works in silence.
No.
Alam,
Exactly.
you have hundreds of people from all walks of life. Teachers at the universities, teachers from school, doctors, you name it.
Speaking
we're
about
in teams.
cultures and models, so
Yeah.
it's not just the Chinese AI or the Saudi AI or the Cyprus AI or the US AI. If you have that cultural context and then they speak to each other, now you're gonna have
You could improve a lot, and for example, we publish data sets. So even going into the democratization
Yes.
of the technology, not only building something and close the door and just put it there.
Exactly.
You need also democratization means that you take it forward and put it, for example, on open source.
Exactly.
So we have some advancement when you put it at open source. Now other entrepreneurs, other even countries, other products from even elsewhere
Nice.
will be able to plug into and use that data set in order to improve their model too. And at the end of the day, you're winning because your country or you as a customer will be served also with a better understanding from these models or the technology because there are data sets that are available and supported.
Nice.
And publishing these innovation or data sets, not only in LLMs, even in medical, even in every single field. Having now this understanding where we talk about, oh, we need to have this, we need to have it published also open source, we need to put it in that specific place so other tech groups can take it. That's the understanding that will change the dynamics and will help improve not only your products, but also the products in the market, in your market.
And it will also create a safer ecosystem, right?
100%.
Because when you standardize on open data and you're sharing that,
Yes.
right, and you're actually working with other countries who are also sharing open data, you basically allow it's a two-way win-win. You allow your algorithms, right, to actually use other data that's there and to continue, that training so that you reduce the bias that is in the data. But at the same time, you're enforcing what we call this transparency or this responsible AI concept that we want to believe we want to build. And bringing these together, right, creates something even more important. We said that it's multidisciplinary.
Yes.
So we started about the question, right? I think it was a point saying that how we teach kids.
Yeah.
Well, should a kid know that it's okay to ask ChatGPT and have an answer to everything and take that answer in 1 second? We need
As a rule of thumb.
we need, and these are the rules that we need to write. These are the policies. These are the ways that we need to bring and rewrite. How do we educate people? How do we really teach them what responsible AI usage is all about? I mean, for me, whenever I think younger children in my family ask me, but it knows everything, and it's like that. I said, well, you know what? It's okay to think about the question for half a minute and decide, right?
Yeah.
And be able. But what we want to teach you is how do you go back and solve the problem on your own? Because by doing that, you use AI as a reflection mechanism. By sharing the data, we are basically helping ourselves, right, as humanity to be able to really solve some of the most challenging problems we haven't seen before. And this is, I think, going back, it's not only about sovereignty, it's about, building the bridges.
Yes.
It's about uniting the engineers. It's about uniting the scientists. It's about helping slowly the economies, right, and the companies, be it, companies in Saudi or companies in Europe, to be able to leverage this, right, and move across and create that value. But for that, we need, I think, the initial building blocks. And this is where we are in our discussions.
I like this shift from being a passive just user to being a co-builder, and also allowing, as a concerned parent, I've always been arguing this. We had the timetable, and then we got the calculators. So I was always debating with my parents, why do I have to memorize the timetable? I have a calculator.
Same dilemma today.
Exactly.
Same exact dilemma.
Why do you need to learn math if GPT can solve the problem very fast.
Exactly.
And this will bring a big shift in our habits, in so many things, and even in our education on how to use, because the technology will be there,
Yeah.
and kids will have the same challenges that
My
we
daughter
had
was
earlier.
asking Alexa like a couple of days back to solve a problem. I mean, that's going to be part of the daily behavior, part of everyday aspects.
The question becomes, what are you going to do with it?
Exactly.
Now, it used to be, the difficulty used to be the solving that problem at that time and getting the knowledge to solve that problem. Now, as a humanity, we reach to a very good point now. We're having this technology, regardless of what you call
Yeah.
it, because it's improving and it will change. And LLM is not the only answer, or it's not the only technology within those systems. Now, what are you going to do with it?
Yes. And building on that, I'll just give you an example. My wife is a doctor. We keep on having these discussions about AI in medicine, etc. So she looked at me and she told me one day, she says, let me ask you something about a 1% disease. So we had an interesting discussion. She says, do you think that tomorrow an AI, let's say, robotic surgeon or an AI software app that is going to give you an advice for that will be able to really make that decision between this and this on the operating table? The answer is no, at least for me. And this is why I keep on saying that when you bring the human in the middle, the human in the center, and you actually start developing, human-centered governance, right? Human-centered AI adoption, and you're really looking at that, you can actually